Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, movies again, specifically our favorite movies of the year. I'm your host, DJ Woldridge, and with me today I have a very special guest, Mr. RB3.
Hey, thanks for having me, DJ. I'm very happy to slide in right at the end of the year.
Yeah, sneak it in there under the wire. Roxy's not going to be with us this week. She's out of town. But we all wish her a happy holiday season, and she'll be back soon enough. Let's just stay tuned. But RB3, I'm glad you were able to join me this week because it's the end of the year, right? And at the end of the year, we like to we talk about our favorite shows and our favorite movies. And as you and I were talking a little bit about off air before the show started, I have a newborn, so I haven't really been able to go and see as many movies. If I'm not covering it for work, I'm probably not seeing it. It's hard to sneak out, and it might shock our listeners to learn a lot of my favorite movies are the ones we don't cover for work, are the non-blockbustery movies. So there's stuff that I haven't been able to see. So I'm glad you're able to come in here with your expertise and talk to me about some of the movies that weren't on my radar. Because when I asked you for, I have a top five, you have a top five. All of these movies a lot of them are ones I've been interested in. Not going to say what they are, spoilers, but I haven't had a chance to see. So I'm glad you're here to cover that. But for the kids that don't know, who are you? What do you do? Where can they find the stuff that you work on?
Yeah, man. For again the kids who are new to RB3, I'm a director, writer, producer, also co-host of the First Cut YouTube channel, and also co-host of the Real Ones podcast, which is also available on First Cut. So, I've been, I'm outside of the YouTube game now, outside of talking movies, I'm also a filmmaker. I love making movies.
Yeah.
So you could check a lot of my work on Instagram at Director RB3, including this new project that I'm crowdfunding for called Urban Luxury. Urban Luxury is a 6-part anthology series that deals with the commodification of the culture. This is inspired by a job that I used to work at. It was like this e-commerce company that prided themselves on selling to like younger multicultural demographics, and they by selling to those demographics, they would target specific categories like comics and collectibles. They would target trading cards. They would target fashion, sneakers, music collaborations, fine art. So these are the categories that they would like really target to get people just to buy first, ask questions later, because those items, there's like an inherent idea of like, oh, it might matriculate, it might go up in value over time instead of like, go down in value. So they, so I worked there for a minute. And it's crazy because they're selling the culture. They're selling like all this like hip hop inspired stuff, streetwear inspired stuff.
Yeah.
Before a minute, I was like the only brother working there, you know what I'm saying? I was like,
yeah.
Like in the creative department. So it was like kind of weird. So I kind of took like those ideas and incorporate them into 6 individual short films that are all playing into this overall anthology series that deals with this subject, that kind of takes a satirical, kind of scary, kind of creepy, but also kind of funny look at all of these different areas.
So if people want to support urban luxury, where would they go to find that?
You can peep out Urban Luxury on Indiegogo right now. We are in the last few days of campaigning if you're watching live, and then if you're watching on YouTube, today actually might be the last day. We might have a way to extend it outwards after the campaign is over, hopefully. I believe that's the in-demand program through Indiegogo. But we got to hit the goal. So if we're able to get close to hitting the goal, help us get there, help us cap out, and make the first. We're trying to fundraise to make the first 2 episodes. The first episode has a budget of $5,000, which we have already cleared. That's looking good.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to the second episode, which has a budget of $15,000.
Yeah.
And trying to get to that fundraising point. So
absolutely.
We're pushing.
So there's a lot of, obviously I've dipped my toe into the crowdfunding arena, and a lot of the platforms have done stuff that allow people to back or support after that window closes. But you can't emphasize enough how important it is to get the backing you need within the campaign window.
Mhm.
So, as RB3 articulated, for those that are watching live, thank you for joining us. Patreon.com/stupid answers. If you're watching live or on Patreon, you have a few days left. It ends on the 23rd, right?
23rd. Yep.
23rd, yeah. So if you're watching this the day it drops publicly, that today's your last day. Get in there while the getting's good, and go support it. What is the stuff if they support the campaign? What's some of the stuff that what are some of the goodies? What are some of the stuff that they get out of supporting the
Oh
project?
man, that's a great question. Well, I always say if you just want to chip in five, everybody could chip in five.
Yeah,
That's a Starbucks, that's a Wendy's biggie bag.
yeah.
That's $5. That's easy. If you chip in five, you get a social media shout out.
Hmm.
If you chip in 10, you could be in our scalper tier. You'll be able to get social media shout out and a digital screener for both of the films. And if there's a lot of benefits when you go higher up in the tiers. We have exclusive hoodies. We have trading cards that we like the actual PSA 10 trading card, the card that's in the center
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of the second short film. You're actually going to be able to get that, like hoodies. If you donate to the 250 tier, if you want to go even above that, be an associate producer on the film, you could donate 500. If you want to be an executive producer, you could donate 1,000. So, again, donate what you're comfortable with. I know it's Christmas. I know it's the
Hmm.
holiday seasons. I know people, got things going on. So at whatever level you want to get at, it will be a good way to lock down a Christmas gift for next year.
Yep.
Because a lot of these things aren't finished now, but next year they'll be done. And also posters too. We have our posters being designed by the great Brian Ward,
Hmm.
who designs a lot of amazing stuff for a lot of YouTubers on this platform. And he cut both the PSA 10 poster and the Urban Space Cowboy poster, which hasn't been released yet, but
Yeah.
it's really close. Like we're probably gonna release that in the next couple days, and it's beautiful.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and it's important to emphasize, because actually the people that backed Hellbent the complete edition, that is already I've already fulfilled those. That's already shipped out.
Nice.
But it's important to emphasize that when you're trying to make something independently, it is very challenging, and so that's kind of the beauty of these crowdfunding platforms is that it allows people like RB3 or myself or whoever your favorite creator is to kind of make stuff outside of the ecosystem that exists and allows you to do stuff like who knows outside of this Indiegogo if something like urban luxury could or would exist because of the suits upstairs that decide what gets made and what doesn't.
Yeah, and this is very anti-establishment. This is very edgy, provocative, and creative and original. I feel like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's kind of why I was doing it. And, a lot of my old coworkers who I used to work with at this old job, they'll even say like to me like, "Yo, salute to you for doing this."
Hmm.
I don't think I want to contribute because it might get me in trouble, but
Yeah.
salute you for even doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because you're telling the truth. And yeah, I mean that's what we're trying to do. Trying to really keep it real out here. For like the tagline says, six stories, one truth.
Yeah.
That's what the whole tagline of this series is. Just giving the side of our story on the culture,
Yeah.
like the perspective that we haven't really seen that much.
And you've done this isn't your first rodeo. You've done a couple festival circuit shorts as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my first I don't want to say my first, but like one of my bigger short films, Timestamp, that
Yeah.
I co-directed with my friend Kate Huseby. That one, played at a number of over 20 festivals, including the Pan African Film Festival. We won the Miami Sci-Fi Film Festival for best short film and for best Afro futurism short film and for best directors. And then we won we won a lot of awards, and that was actually available to stream to buy or rent on Amazon Prime Video right now.
Very
Timestamp
cool.
is. So Timestamp's on Amazon Prime Video. And the Static had a great festival run, which I directed, starring Danny Fernandez. It was written
Friend of
by
the
her
show.
too.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and that one premiered at the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, played at the Michelle Film Festival. Two had a great run, and then of course the Comic Shop also directed as well, and that one had a really fun run. We got nominated for Best Director on that too at the Michelle Film Festival. So
Incredible, incredible, incredible. So please, please, please do yourself a favor, do us a favor, support art, support movies, support stuff that may not otherwise get made without your support. Go to Urban Luxury, go to Indiegogo, type in Urban Luxury, support RB3, support the other creative people he's collaborating with. Check that out. We'll remind you again at the end of the episode, but check it out. So now, before we get into our main topic today, which is going to be the top 10 movies of the year, according to me and RB3. Of course, if you're listening to this on iTunes, 5 stars, thumbs up. Thumbs up's not iTunes. 5 stars. Leave a review, please and thank you. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe. You know the deal. But we also like to read comments from YouTube and Spotify. You can leave comments on Spotify as well. We got this one from our previous video, which was the Craven one. That's what it was. Handsome Ransom says, maybe Marvel/Disney will let Deadpool and Logan go to the Sonyverse and just kill all these characters so they never make it to the MCU. Maybe even bring Spider-Man along for the fun. RB3, did you get a chance to see Sony's Craven the Hunter?
Yeah, I did not get to watch Craven the Hunter.
Oh,
I didn't get to, the time, what was I missing? Did you get to see it though?
I did. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm saying is a lot of the time, we get screenings, and so if I'm gonna have to take time away from the fam, it's like, okay, are we gonna cover this on the show? And obviously, I knew Craven the Hunter. Boy, howdy, we're gonna cover that shit on the show. And so I got that screening, and before the movie came out, Sony was like, by the way, gang, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do these Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies. And it's like, okay, yeah. And then you saw the movie. I'm like, yeah, you saw the writing on the wall. You saw the writing on the wall. I also got a chance to see the new Sonic movie, which you guys can check out. I tried something a little different with that. I did a little short on my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash. And then I put it on TikTok and whatever. I grew up, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so I'm a big Sonic fan. I was a Genesis kid, not a Nintendo kid. And so I have a lot of nostalgia there. But it did watching the Sonic movie, which is very much targeted towards children, right? Like Minions type stuff, right? It did dawn on me. I'm like, oh my God, this might be one of the most cohesive blockbusters I've seen all year, which that was a hard pill to swallow. It was like the Sonic movie is more narratively sound than Craven the Hunter. Like, what are we doing? What's happening?
It's funny because that's what a lot of people. It has like an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like, I'm very excited to see it. I didn't get screeners for either of these movies, so that's why I was like, I'll probably watch Sonic eventually. Craven, I don't know if I want to pay to really watch that one. But.
And that's the beauty of the work we do. Is that sometimes you can be like, I want to see this, but I don't want to spend money on it. So I'll do it for work. So, and also while I'm pimping out my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash, Sal from Comic Pop and myself, we did a trailer reaction to the new Superman trailer. Spoilers is for this Superman fan, it's very good. Made me very, very happy. So, and of course, if you want to watch this live, or ad-free, or check it out early, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. We also have Patreon exclusive shows like Mutant Academy. Oh my goodness. I think that's it. I think that's all the stuff that's fit to print. Let's get into what we're into, which is the top 10 movies of the year. RB3, what did you feel about, before we get into the list itself, how did you feel about this year in movies? Did it feel like a good year to you or no?
It felt in the beginning, it felt like a great year, and we had some great like early year movies, and some of them that are on this list. And then kind of halfway through the summer, really, I don't want to say it was desolate, but there was like a few blockbusters that are really, really good, and then some that were just like kind of dead. And getting into the award season, I liked a lot of the award season movies, but I actually didn't love a lot of them. So I'm very curious to see what actually ends up elevating into like the best picture race and all the Academy Award consideration. Because I felt like a lot of stuff was just kind of okay, except the things that I really, really loved then they were a lot higher on my list, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I felt kind of like a shallow year to me as well, and I kind of wonder how much of that has to do with the strikes last year,
Mm,
and so maybe stuff got pushed back, or it definitely feels like in so many aspects of culture we're at an inflection point, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it, but I'm hoping for better things. We'll see. We will see. But let's start off. We're going to start off with you. You submitted a top five. I have my top five, and we're going to intersperse them.
mm.
But your first one was, and we're going from least favorite being in, they're still in our top fives, but you know what I mean? The bottom to the top. And we're starting with Problemista. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, Problemista, that for me is one of my favorite movies of the year. Another early pick. I believe it came out in like April or March or something like that. It's directed by Julio Torres, who also stars as the main character. It's about this young immigrant who is he's an aspiring artist and toy designer. He's actually an aspiring toy designer. He's trying to get an internship at like it's either Mattel or Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's trying to get an internship at. He keeps applying. He keeps applying. It's just not hitting. And he needs to get a job soon to maintain his visa for being in the country. So
Gotcha.
he ends up working for Tilda Swinton, who is this crazy, zany, out of control woman and event planner, and she's trying to plan a gallery and exhibit for her late husband's paintings. And her husband, who's played by the RZA, like paints only eggs. Like he painted
Nice.
like a dozen eggs in like these like beautiful art pieces. So it's just a very funny, out there, weird, pure comedy, pure ridiculousness. It's everything. I loved every second of it. It's the performances from literally everybody in the movie are top tier, especially Tilda Swinton. I feel like she should be in like the best supporting actress category, like conversation
Yeah.
for this performance. It's smart, it's witty, it's fast paced. It's also visually stunning in a lot of ways. There's elements of like Charlie Kaufman in
Very
there.
cool.
There's elements of like some Michelle Gondry kind of like early work too. It's just very interesting, and this I believe it's Julio Torres' first feature debut. I think he was a writer on SNL, and this is his feature debut, and just knocked it out the park. I mean, this is one of my it's one of the funniest movies of the year, and also just one of the smartest.
Very, very cool. I definitely want to check this out. Big fan of Tilda Swinton, and I would love to live in reality where Tilda Swinton is married to RZA. That's amazing. I want to see more of that. That's incredible. Very, very cool. I wonder. I wonder. Do we know if this is? Oh, it's on. It looks like it's streaming on Max.
Yeah, there's a
Gang.
lot of A24 movies they have on Max right now, so you get a lot of good movies on there.
Very cool, very cool. I will. Well, yeah, I was going to say I'll definitely check this out. With the baby. Well, I'll do my best to. I'll do my best to find time to check it out. For
Right.
me, so this came out earlier in the year. That's interesting because for me, my pick was also one that came out at the beginning of the year, and so I had to like pull back. I had to go back, and that's Monkey Man, who also, funny enough, is directed by the star of the movie. And what's interesting is I'm normally not a huge fan of actors directing because they have a tendency to be like to like elevate their character, like look how special a boy I am in this movie. It's like we get it, you're directing yourself, I understand. But
Right.
what's very cool about this is I think very few people would consider Dev Patel an action star, and I would imagine as successful as he's been, when with he wouldn't come up with like into the Bond conversation probably. And so
Mhm.
this in some ways feels like him going, fuck that. Let me show you what I can do. And he stars as a character called Kid. But it's just a high paced action movie that takes place in India and deals with a lot of some of the sociopolitical snags that are happening in that country. And it is, as with a lot of directorial debuts, it's a little lumpy. There's parts of it, it's not necessarily. Yeah, it's just. I feel like that's the only way I can describe it. I was going to try and articulate what I meant by lumpy. No, it's just a little lumpy.
Mhm.
But I don't mind that. Like, I don't need everything, all my movies to be like factory sealed and perfect. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think you guys will see on this list. Obviously, I'm a big action fan, but we're kind of in some ways in a little bit of a renaissance of action movies where people are finding new ways to do action movies that really resonate. And I kind of wonder maybe if it's the John Wickification of the medium. But anyway, point is, Dev Patel kicks all the ass in this movie. A lot of the even though it takes place in India, a lot of the kind of messaging. There's a lot of stuff that is important to. Like the character ends up finding refuge with the local trans community, and
Mhm.
a lot of meaningful stuff there, and kind of like articulating the perspective of some of those characters. And it's just Dev Patel's a really incredible actor, and it's really cool to see him kick butt. And I'm a sucker for a good action movie. I love it.
Yeah, no, it was great. To that point, yeah, the whole him hiding out with the trans community of women who was helping them out. Him also uh basically the whole theme of the movie dealing with like this super right wing
Hmm.
group that is terrorizing like a lot of the folks in this province of India. Yeah, it's really dope. It's an action movie that's political. That's also very emotional too. I think that's also what stuck out to me about Monkey Man is how much it kind of almost makes you want to cry by the end of it a little bit,
Yeah.
um, and it's great. It's great for that, man. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great one.
It's also another one. I pulled it up on IMDb and they're playing the trailer, and it's like, oh yeah, this movie. Oh man, it looks like you can stream on Prime.
Mhm.
It also, and it's you don't want to underestimate this. It ends at the exact right moment. I
Mhm.
don't know how if this happens to you a lot, RB3, where you're watching a movie and a scene happens, you're like, yeah, and then it keeps going. I'm like, no, you missed it. That was where you ended. Don't stop. Don't keep going. And this one, it's like it's the moment and story done. Roll credits. It's like, yeah, perfect. Good job. Um,
Yeah.
the next one on your list, this is one that I have really wanted to see. I've been excited to see. I've heard nothing but good things about, and it's not streaming. It came out. I want to say it came out right as the baby arrived, and so I haven't had a
Mhm.
chance to check it out yet. So I'm waiting for it to stream someplace so I can watch it. It's The Substance.
Yeah, The Substance. One of my favorite movies, and you know what? You can actually stream it, but it's on Mubi. I don't know if you have Mubi.
Okay.
Um, I can hook you up with my Mubi login.
Okay.
There's a big year for Mubi. I've had Mubi for a long time, but yeah, The Substance is so good. Demi Moore is phenomenal. As this lead character who ends up. I don't want to spoil too much because you haven't seen it. I don't know how much of the audience has seen it, but basically, she takes this substance that allows her to have a younger clone of herself. The only switch off is, they have to have like I think it's like like 12 hours each way. Like they have to split up the time. And it's interesting. It's a very I don't want to go into the rules of it. I don't want to explain really anything else more than just saying this is a hilarious, crazy, wacky body horror, but that's also an amazing satire on the culture of Hollywood, the
Mhm.
society that builds, the celebrity culture and things like that. Dennis Quaid, I never thought I'd be complimenting Dennis Quaid in 2024. Uh,
Mhm.
he plays the sleaziest, nastiest kind of Hollywood dude that you'll ever see. It's absolutely hilarious. And then by the end, I was laughing, I was digging it. The story was great. The performance of again Demi Moore is great, and then the younger version of her is played by Margaret
Yeah.
Qualley, something like that.
Yeah.
He's also great too. By the end, it turns into a body horror extravaganza to the point where I was literally covering my eyes. Like
Love it.
I was like, oh, I can't even watch this. And it's when a movie makes me feel that intense, it got to be on the top five. It got to be somewhere on the top of my list. So
Love it. I
that's
love it. I'm a big fan of body horror. And I just looked up this director, Corley Fargett. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrect. And she's great. She directed a movie called Revenge from a few years back that was awesome. Revenge came out in 2017. Oh my God, where does time go? But yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I've heard nothing but amazing things about it, and it's like I cannot wait to see this movie. It'll happen. Don't worry, gang, it'll happen. I'm going to see it. That's why it's good to have guests on so they can talk about the stuff that I haven't had a chance to see, but I want to. Okay, so the next one on my list, we've been talking about more adult fare, but listen, I'm a family man now. I love a good Pixar movie that's going to make me cry. And what's the Pixar movie that made me cry this year? It's Inside Out 2.
Oh, okay.
A big fan of Inside Out, the first one. And going into it, I was kind of like, I don't know. Is it going to live up to it? I should have known it's Pixar. God damn it! It's just so for people that are not familiar with one of the most successful animated movies of all time, Inside Out follows the emotions, the personified emotions inside a teenage girl or preteen girl named Riley, and as she gets older, new emotions are introduced, and we are introduced to anxiety that is played by Maya Hawke. Mm-hmm. And as somebody that struggles with anxiety, this movie fucking nailed it. And they do, and it's something that Pixar's very good at, where they kind of explore similar ground, but from a different enough angle that everything feels fresh. So the first Inside Out, for those that haven't seen it, spoilers, a lot of that movie follows Joy, played by Amy Poehler, who is kind of antagonistic towards sadness, played by Phyllis Smith, and kind of growing to learn. It's basically a lesson on how like sadness is important too. It's okay to feel sad. That's not the exact same lesson with anxiety. Anxiety has a lot less going for it than sadness, but it is very sympathetic towards like this has a place within who you are as a person, and you have to understand it, and there's ways to exercise it in ways that are positive. And so on the one hand, you're following Riley as she's kind of entering her teenage years and navigating she's not going to go to the same school with her friends, all that stuff. But on the other hand, and this is how Pixar gets you got that stuff that the kids can relate to, and then like the deep, like the joy has to deal with like maybe as you get older, maybe you feel joy less, and as when you're approaching middle age, you're like, oh, God damn it, that hits me hard. That's so I think Pixar is great at this sort of thing, making something that is truly all ages. We like to slap the all ages banner on anything directed towards kids, but sometimes, as I talked about earlier, you could be talking about the Sonic movie that is pretty much targeted as kids. The Pixar stuff, the good stuff, is legit all ages. You could watch it at 8 or 80 and you'll get something out of it, which I think is a lot trickier than we give it credit for. I think Inside Out is an incredible example of this, and I may or may not have cried watching it. You'll never know.
Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie. I probably busted out a tear or two during Inside Out 2 as well. Definitely the first one. They had me when Bimbo the Clown died.
The imaginary friend,
Imaginary friend. That's when they got me in the first one. The second one was also amazing. I saw it twice in theaters too, and they nailed the anxiety angle so perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's crazy because I felt like this one was kind of rushed. Like I felt like they kind of just rushed it out, and I was like, I don't even know. They didn't even bring Bill Hader back and all that, but it still worked. It was really, really fun, and just like you said, something for all ages.
Yeah, and I think they do a good thing too. They expand. I focused on anxiety, but they expand to all emotions have their place. Like one that really stuck out to me because I can be kind of a grumpy Gus, so I kind of relate to anger, and right. And there's a lot of the movie doesn't shy away. Like there's negative parts to anger, but there's a moment where everybody's kind of like in the dumps, and anger's the one like, come on guys, we need to get this going. And it's like, yeah, everything serves a function. Even emotions that are quote unquote negative, they are part of the ecosystem. And I think that's a very empathetic, sympathetic way of looking at yourself. And I think that's a very positive thing, especially to share with kids. So I really like what they're doing over there. And I don't actually, what I was going to say, like on a similar vein, I actually don't know if it is because I've seen the trailers for this movie, but I haven't seen it. The next one on your list is Piece by Piece.
Also animated. Yeah. And something I would also say is for all ages. I think this one's for all ages too. Especially great for kids because of the Lego aesthetic, because it's a very fun, beautifully animated film all the way through and through. And also surprisingly trippy in some ways because Pharrell is a very heady dude, and he talks a lot about fish and mermaids and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's fun animation bits that happen in there. But it's also really, really great for the adult music fans. Like for me, I watched it with a bunch of homies, and we were just we was grooving with every song that Pharrell's going through, because this is really, I feel like this was such a break in both the animated genre and the music documentary genre.
Yeah.
It kind of mixes both of those together, and it actually does feel like a genuine music doc with talking head interviews. Like they interview Pusha T, they interview Missy Elliott, they interview Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, like all these iconic, Nori, all these iconic artists that Pharrell has worked with over the years. And apparently some of these people didn't even know that they were going to be Lego-fied. Like they just thought they were sitting down for a normal interview, and then they turned them into Legos. So and it does feel like a genuine something you'll see like MTV Uncut, or something that's like an actual good music documentary, but through an animated lens. The director of this, Morgan Nisville, I believe is his name. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but he's the Academy Award-winning director of 20 Feet from Stardom, as well as he directed the Mr. Rogers movie as well.
Wow.
So this movie's coming from a heartfelt place. It's coming from a genuine spot. And Pharrell, like I said, he's made so much iconic music. There's a hilarious part with Snoop Dogg, like, because it's a kids movie, so you can't have Snoop Dogg smoking.
Yeah.
So they have like a little spray can that says PG spray, and they'll spray that in the studio to illuminate the smoke. It's so good. It's just very creative in a lot of ways.
Do we know how this came about? Like why Pharrell was like, yeah, Legos? Like what was the creative impulse there?
I really don't know. And it's crazy too, because Pharrell has another biopic coming out like next year, apparently, that's directed by Michelle Gondry. So I'm like, Pharrell just loves making movies about himself.
Yeah. Well, hey man, when you're Pharrell, you can, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, it's but I also do feel like so much of Pharrell's newer, younger fans honestly came from the Minions movies. Honestly came from the "'Cause I'm happy" like that type of situation. So I think in Pharrell's mind, he's like, I could probably reach all ages by telling this story that's Lego through the Lego format. And honestly, it kind of honestly fits Pharrell's story, because Pharrell is a very creative dude. He built up his career one piece at a time type situation. And it actually just feels like a natural translation. I feel like only Pharrell probably could have made this movie, and it'll feel right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm interested to check that out, and because it seems so unlike anything else in this genre. So for me, you were talking about a little bit, like, it felt like there were a few movies that really like wowed me this year. One that did, and I was so grateful. This one literally did come out right as we just brought the baby home. And fortunately, that was at a point where baby was sleepy. He slept. He slept more, so we were able to. Because I was really excited to check this movie out, and so I was able to clock it pretty early, and it just really blew me away, which shouldn't surprise me. It's from Jeremy Saulnier, who fans of this show of Only Stupid Answers will know. Sam and I were big supporters of Green Room. We love Blue Ruin, and this is I think it was Hold the Dark was the one he did before this. This movie came to Netflix. It's called Rebel Ridge. And this is a throwback to a type of action movie that we don't really make anymore, done to the highest caliber possible. So this very much feels like First Blood, the first Rambo movie, which of course the Rambo franchise went off in a very different direction after that movie. The first movie is actually pretty grounded, but it follows a guy that is on his way to bail out his cousin, and he gets run off the road by the cops, and they seize the money through some bullshit evidence seizure stuff. And the whole movie escalates from there as he tries to get the money back to bail his cousin out. And it stars Aaron Pierre, who superhero fans will know is going to be played Jon Stewart. And the second I saw this movie, and then like I think a week later or something, they were like, he's in the running for Jon Stewart. It's like, yes, sign that man immediately. Yes, he should be a superhero 1000%. It's a bummer that as much as I love that genre, it is a bummer that our gauge of quote unquote making it is, have you been cast as a superhero? But it's this man. If anybody ever needed to be cast as a superhero, it's this fucking guy. It's weird because I feel like I'm throwing caveats on this movie. It's also kind of a bummer that in a different time, this would have been in theaters and this would have been like a big star making moment for this guy because he gets so many great fucking action movie lines, excuse me. But it's just one of those, not only is it a kick-ass action movie, which again, we all know DJ loves, not only is it a good, spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, kind of talking about some real fucking bullshit in our culture. It also, Jeremy Saulnier has a great eye for method and the kind of steps, instead of just like throwing you into cars are blowing up and whatever, high speed chases. There's a methodical nature to how would the movie's not necessarily particularly grounded, but the way everything is approached is in a relatively believable fashion. The way things escalate is believable fashion, and I just think it's everything's taken very seriously, and it's just a movie that blew me away. It's the type of movie I love. It's the type of movie I wish we got more of, it's just, yeah, it's basically like after I watched it, I was like, it's like a modern day First Blood. It's also like an entire season of the best season of Reacher ever, because it's a classic, like the most muscular guy you'll ever meet goes into a town with some problems and then he solves those problems with muscles. But it's so much smarter than that. It is that, but it's also way smarter than that. And I love it. It's easily one of my favorite movies of the year. Everybody should watch it. It's on Netflix. You can. Statistically, most of you watching have it. All right. Do yourself a favor. Check this movie out. I want Jeremy Saulnier. If Jeremy Saulnier was like, this is going to be like my Knives Out, I'm going to make a new one of these with Aaron Pierre every couple of years, where he wanders into a new town and beats up everybody, I would watch all of them. I would watch every single one of them. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this movie too. I watched it a couple times myself as well when it dropped on Netflix. It's funny because I had some people, I definitely was like, oh, going into it, saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, is he gonna like kill all these white people?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder like how they like will even release that. But no, it went in a much more fun, much more accessible route of like, he's non-lethal with it. He's non-lethal with attacking them. And also that was just creative to me too, because like he got so many effective like disarmings and stuff like that, like just through pure choreography. And then I love the scene when like he's outside of the thing and then they figure they're like Googling him mid thing.
Yeah.
Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Like,
wait. Oh, it says here on this guy's document that he's the most badass motherfucker you're ever gonna run into.
It's like he's literally on the Wikipedia page for killers. Like, I'm like, what? And then talking about action movie lines when he's on the phone and dude's like, maybe we could have just squared this away and made a deal. Then I was thinking, nah.
Yeah. My favorite one, and I'm going to butcher it, but my favorite one is something along the lines of, I love to believe that there's an afterlife, but because I don't know, so that my cousin could haunt them or whatever, but because I don't know that I'm going to have to haunt them myself. And it's like, fuck yeah, you are, man. Fuck yeah, you are.
Yeah, that was Fuego, man. That was a really, really fire movie.
Yeah. And so, and I'm glad you brought it up, because my one thing that I wasn't sure about is, unlike First Blood, Terry Richmond, who's the main character's name, I don't think kills anybody. Doesn't, even though these guys are very much like, it'd be very much in the self-defense vein. And it kind of felt like, it's like, are you kind of pulling your punches? And then I thought about thinking about Jeremy Saulnier's other movies, especially Hold the Dark, but thinking about some of his other movies, I was like, you know what I think this is? I think it was very specifically because this movie very much feels like a response to the moment we live in. And it very, very much felt like the creative instinct was, I don't want, especially since this is in, this character's a hero. He's not a complicated, morally gray. No, he is a good guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want my hero to solve his problem with gun violence. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I respect that. It probably would not have been the direction I would have gone in, but I respect that instinct. And shit, man, like this could have been not that I want to see Jeremy Saulnier make these types of movies, but it could be like a calling card, like, hey, hire me to do GI Joe, man, because I would destroy that shit.
Yeah.
But don't ignore that I just said that. I want him to make more of these. I don't need him to be sucked into the maw of the blockbuster machine. I want more. Again, as much as I wish this had a theatrical run and all that stuff, if Netflix keeps paying this director to keep making these movies, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay, so the next one on your list is The Book of Clarence.
Yeah, yeah. This is one of those movies. Another very, very early pick of the year. I think it actually came out January of 2024. Man, I love this movie through and through. I grew up in a very Christian household.
Same.
I actually went to Bible school. Went to actually a Christian school for like all the elementary school stuff like that. So very in tune with the Bible. Very in tune with like religion. And to be honest, religion is something that I was in tune with when I was younger. And then as I got older, as most of us kind of deal with the little bit of a disillusionment with the world, with our place in it.
Yeah.
What is God? Who is God? All these kind of questions. And what this movie, Book of Clarence, does so eloquently, I think better than any movie that I've seen in a long, long time, is not because there's the typical Christian movies that are very very centered on telling, oh, this is the Bible, this is Jesus, this really happened.
Yeah.
There's those movies, and there's movies like Noah, or he did the other one. Darren Aronofsky did another one with
Noah, with Russell Crowe, yeah.
Yeah, and he did another. Oh, Mother, he did Mother as well.
Yeah.
That's another like Bible movie that's kind of more cynical. There's like you could go cynical with it, or you could go very Christian Angel Studios kind of thing with it.
Yeah.
And, I feel like Hollywood has no in between, but this to me is the perfect in between for people who are believers but have questions and like have maybe even a little apprehension about like what is Jesus and things like that. And it does it in such a creative way because the main character, Lakeith Stanfield, he is a fictional character, Clarence, and it's basically detailing his accounts of like living in the Jesus times. But he ends up saying, he thinks to himself like, and his twin brother is one of the disciples of Jesus. So he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm broke. I could just pretend to be Jesus. I don't even believe this Jesus guy is even real. I could just pretend to be him and I can make a bunch of cash. And he does do that. And eventually, I don't want to go into, if people are eventually going to watch it or not.
Yeah.
But it really dives deep into, okay, what does it mean to be spiritual versus Christian? What does it mean to be a believer versus somebody who's just like trivial about it?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the way I'm describing it is not really doing it justice, but every single aspect of it, the acting is phenomenal. The music is directed by James Samuel, who directed The Harder They Fall.
Yeah.
And I believe he's also comes from the music world. So he did the music himself. The music all the way through and through is epic. It's an old school Bible epic, like old school biblical epic, but also very satirical, very funny, amazing. There's a gladiator subplot where one dude is like, I can't remember. It's played by Omar Sy, but his character is basically like invincible. So he like tries to fight everybody who gets in his way. It's just very, very funny. It's a great movie that has layers, that has meaning, that goes to a place that I think no other movie has gone to. And just in terms of like the religious false messiah dichotomy, we saw that heavy with Dune 2, and I love Dune 2.
Yeah.
But I feel like only because I saw Book of Clarence before I saw Dune 2, I feel like Book of Clarence just hit that false messiah idea so well.
Yeah.
Even better than I feel like Dune 2 did it. So yeah, I love this movie. And I saw it twice in theaters. I showed it to my mom. She didn't like it. Showed it to my girlfriend. She didn't like it. I feel like I'm literally the only person who probably likes this movie. but it just hit me in all the right ways, you
Well, I
know?
also grew up in a religious with a religious background, so I'm interested to check it out. I feel like that's kind of thing with James Samuel. I feel like I remember with Harder They Fall, divisive. You know what I mean? Like either you're vibing with it or you're not, kind of a thing. This
Mhm.
is on Book of Clarence is on Netflix if you want to check it out. This cast is absolutely stacked. You've got Lakeith Stanfield, Omar Sy, Anna Diop. We've got Alfred Woodard, James McAvoy, Benedict Cumberbatch. God damn. So definitely worth checking out. For me, the next one on my list. Well, I was really into action movies this year. I don't hate it. All right, I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah.
But it was, and we're gonna get in other people's lists, and there's people that saw this movie and it wasn't in their top 10, and that blows my mind. It was Furiosa. This
Mm,
movie, I love this. I love this movie. I like George Miller. I like the phase George Miller is in. What was the he 10,000 Years of Longing? Love that too. But he takes everything there. There's a moment when I was watching Furiosa where it's obviously going to be hard for it to live up to Fury Road, which was so iconic. And this is a very different. This is an epic. Fury Road is epic, but it is essentially a glorified car chase when you boil it down. This is
mhm.
an epic. We're following the life of Furiosa, who's played in this movie by Anya Taylor-Joy. And that kind of fable like storytelling, that type of myth making, when it is done with this level of craft and commitment, is very much my jam. And I love the way George Miller builds out and fleshes out this world that isn't, and I feel like more genre filmmakers could take notes from this, that's not very exposition heavy. You just understand as people talk about the different ecosystems and locales and how it relates to them, you understand like, oh, okay, I get it. I get where everybody's coming from. And I just think, and there's a sequence in this movie that rivals that involves the war rig, that rivals anything in Fury Road.
Right.
Is absolutely incredible. And yeah, it's just one of those. I wish more. Not that more blockbusters were like this, because this has a very specific tone to it, but I wish more blockbusters were approached with this level of craft and commitment, and this level of care. Because so many, especially this year, so many of the blockbusters we saw kind of felt slapped together. We've kind of
Yeah.
settled into a very like jokey, kind of quippy, kind of, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's bled into the filmmaking as well, where it's kind of like, hey, whatever, man. And it's like, that's cool, but if you're gonna spend like $200 million on a movie, I want to feel that shit. I want to feel it in my bones. I want to feel, and you feel it in your bones. This might be Chris Hemsworth's best performance ever, playing the villain Dementis. I love that he's kind of found this groove of like, because before it was funny, we found out he's could be funny. That's great.
Mm.
But also playing off of how beautiful he's a beautiful man. So being able to play off of that in roles that are either funny or in this case villainous. Yeah, and if you're a fan of Fury Road, this is a perfect companion. I know that we're gonna try to make a third one that followed Tom Hardy's Max. I don't need that. We got 3 Max movies prior to Fury Road. I would do a third Furiosa movie if it was me. This movie did not do well against its budget in the box office. This is probably the end of the road for that, which depresses me immensely. But this is one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it too. I have to go back and rewatch it. I liked it. I think the thing for me, which I respect George Miller for everything he was doing in it. It was in a way beautiful and artsy and like so artsy, you know what I'm saying? By the end of it, you get almost like a treat, I don't
Yeah,
want to say like this spoiled up last imagery, but it almost looks like a beautiful Renaissance painting, like
yeah,
by the time you get to the end. So he really went heavy and making it RC very much in that thousand years of longing kind of direction,
yeah,
which I highly, highly respect. Um, I respect it. I don't know. I didn't. It didn't hit me as hard as the first Mad Max.
yeah.
With that being said, though, I do. I now that you mention it in the top. Are you right? It did kind of fall out of conversation for me. But I need to go back and rewatch it. And plus, the strength of Furiosa as a character. We
Mm-hmm.
this year had some strong female characters throughout, but I feel like a lot of the big movies kind of didn't. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, especially when talking about like Deadpool and Wolverine
Yeah.
and like that. And also, no shade. I know I was just bigging up Book of Clarence. The big criticism of Book of Clarence, the female characters are non-existent in that movie. Like they
Yeah.
are very surface level. But with Furiosa, they really did a good job of painting a full picture, a full life story
Mhm.
of who this person is. So, I know she wasn't saying a lot of words throughout the film, but by the time she does speak at the end, it's like, it's powerful. It resonates.
Yeah, my only real criticism of it is, they recast the character because it's earlier in her life. But there is a point in the movie where I'm like, Charlize could have done this. We could have flown Charlize out for these last few moments of this movie. Let's go on to your next one. This is another one that I've heard nothing but great things about. I've been excited to check it out. I just haven't had an opportunity to. I'm a huge fan of Coleman Domingo. He's fantastic. Let's talk about Sing Sing. This is your favorite movie of the year.
This is my favorite movie of the year so far. I really, really love this movie through and through, man. It's starring Coleman Domingo. Also, I'm trying to pull up the rest of the cast, but basically the whole film is set inside of Sing Sing correctional facilities, which is in New York. And basically there's a small theater group that is inside of the prison that kind of started, they started it themselves. And Coleman Domingo is one of the main architects. He helps write the songs and writes the plays for this group. And they they put on a performance every year to motivate themselves, but also to motivate the other prisoners inside of the correctional facility as well. And what's beautiful about this movie, a lot of the actual stars that are acting alongside Coleman Domingo are actually real prisoners who were inside of this program, inside of the Sing Sing theater program. So they're actually playing themselves. Like a lot of these people are playing themselves, including the main guy who is Clarence Macklin. He's also credited as one of the co-writers on this movie.
Wow.
And he's basically his character is entering the program for the first time. He comes from this hard background, so he really is not trying to like show emotion, and he's really just trying to survive in the prison situation. But then he ends up slowly but surely starting to get invested in the program, starting to kind of figure out his place in it. And it's just a beautiful story, man. It's a beautiful story. It's a heartfelt story. It's something that underlies the truth, but also shines a whole new light in humanity to these prisoners, which frankly in media, when you hear prisoners, you automatically go to like this negative connotation. You automatically go to people who are criminals or something like that. A lot of people say the incarcerated people is just to soften it up, but no, they are imprisoned. They are locked behind bars. They're locked in chains because of a mistake that they made in life, and they don't really have another way to justify it through our already rigged and decrepit justice system. So, and that's another thing that the movie deals with. Coleman Domingo, he keeps trying to reapply for an appeal. He's trying to say, I'm doing good work inside of the prison, and they keep knocking it down. It's just heart-wrenching, but it's real. It's real, and it touches on things that are very real, and the performances are raw and awesome, and I couldn't love this movie more.
I love that this moment Coleman Domingo's having. He's so incredible, and this movie looks great, and it seems like a perfect vehicle for him. I'm very excited to check it out when I get a chance. It doesn't appear that it is streaming as of yet, because I feel like it came out relatively recently. So soon, it's an A24 joint, so it'll probably be on Max soon enough if you didn't catch it in theaters. My favorite movie of the year, I swear to God, it's not going to be all action movies. I swear to God, everybody. As of right now, so I will say, I think I mentioned this before, I have not seen Nosferatu yet. There's a pretty good chance that would have been in my top 5 had I. Eggers joints, they end up on the list normally. I'm not as huge a fan of Lighthouse as other people seem to be.
Oh, really?
But Northman, The Witch, it's a pretty, Nosferatu looks great. So it's probably Lighthouse is good. It's just a bit more challenging than it's a bit more challenging to get through for me. But so just know, caveat, I haven't seen that yet. In fact, I haven't seen any of the stuff that RB3's talked about. Had I seen them, those would probably end up on my list as well. I'm hoping to catch up over the holidays. But my favorite movie of the year so far, there's a good chance it'll stay up there, is Anora. I'm a big fan of Sean Baker as a director. His Tangerine. I think Tangerine's the first movie of his I saw. Florida Project is great. Red Rocket is fantastic. And so when I knew he was coming out with a new movie, I had to make the time to go see it. And it is everything I wanted it to be. It stars Mikey Madison as a stripper who kind of finds her way in the orbit of what I think we're supposed to understand is like kind of like a Russian oligarch's son. Like he's somebody important in the Eastern European bloc, and the son of that, and this is a rich kid, right? And it looks like I think one of her stripper friends talks about, oh, you landed your whale, basically. You've found your way out of it, and of course it doesn't go that easily. Of course it doesn't, and it kind of ends up being. You're kind of following her on the day once we get there, the day that everything kind of falls apart and all the moving pieces of that. And it's just a fantastic showcase for Mikey Madison, who's been terrific in a lot of things. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of them Scream movies. I can't remember which one of the recent ones. And it does. I love Sean Baker's the way the Meeks movies that kind of focused on, saying marginalized people might be too strong a word for Anora, but people that you were talking about in Sing Sing, how we just kind of like write off prisoners, like, oh, they're criminals, they deserve to be there. And it's like, well, hold on, time out, hold on. Similar strippers, you know what I mean? Like sex workers of any type. A lot of his movies deal with, in fact, I think all the ones I listed deal with sex workers on some level. Tangerine, Florida Project, Red Rocket. We kind of tend to write off. And the attention to these people's interiority, their lives, the details of their lives, how the day-to-day of how doing this work looks and how it impacts these people, and how they navigate those spaces. And of course, Anora coming from a poor background and catapulted into a rich background, and how that environment does not give a shit about her. Like, great that you are getting to enjoy this luxury, but it will just as quickly spit you out. And it's also really fucking funny. It's a really funny movie. So this is, I like, this isn't a grimy crime story, but it is adjacent enough to that. And anything that is where I'm like a big fan of the Safdie brothers, which similarly, you were talking about Sing Sing, a lot of casting, off the street casting, people that are part of these worlds. And there's an authenticity brought to it that I really appreciate. And so for me, if you were looking for like the platonic ideal of a movie for DJ, you'd be pretty close with Anora.
Yeah, no, Anora is so funny. You're right. It's hilarious. Ivan, I think that's the Russian boyfriend.
Yeah.
He's hysterical. All of his lines are funny. The other dude, Igor, who is introduced a little later into the story, he's also quietly funny. Yeah, there's so many ranges. There's so much personality to this film, and there, like you said, the aspect of the sex worker, stripper, segment of it. Yeah, that is something that is quite often looked down upon, and even in this movie, some of the characters look down upon that, but it's a very beautiful reflection of Anora herself as a person, what she wants, what she desires. Yeah. And, ultimately she thought she was there. It's like a very tragic, sexy, rise and fall story.
Yeah. That's a great way of describing it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really dug it.
So, and again, that just came out relatively recently, so it looks like you can rent or buy it, but it is not currently streaming. It is Neon, so I don't know where it'll land, although I feel like a lot of Neon movies end up on Hulu/Disney Plus now. I don't know if they have a deal or not, or if that's just a thing that happens. And props to Neon, because there's a lot of A24 on this list, and they've been doing great work for a very long time. And I like that Neon's like... picked up the gauntlet. They're like, oh, we'll accept that challenge. We'll see. You know what I mean? We'll try and step up and do some of these great movies as well. Top of the list.
I
Huh?
was gonna say Long Legs was very close to hitting my top 5, but it was just right outside of my top 5.
Which one?
Long Legs,
Long
for me.
legs, yeah, long legs was really good. We can do. I want to real quick. I'm going to list off some of the. I asked you guys on the Discord some of your favorite movies. We got Jake Hefner who said Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Dune Part 2, Speak No Evil, Transformers 1, Late Night with the Devil. I also really like Late Night with the Devil. We got a huge list from Posh. Posh, I'm probably not gonna get through all of it. He put it in release order. Dune 2, Love Lies Bleeding. Love Lies Bleeding is on my honorable mentions. Very good. I've been meaning to rewatch it. I haven't had a chance to. Monkey Man, Spy X Family, Code White, Challengers, The Fall Guy, Thelma, Inside Out 2, Ghostlight, Touch, Sing Sing is in there, Kneecap. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The Substance, Transformers 1, The Wild Robot. Everybody loves that. I need to see that. My Hero Academia, Conclave, Anora, Memoir of a Snail. Goddamn, Posh, you watch a lot of movies. Wicked is an honorable mention. That was another blockbuster I saw this year that I thought was really great. Do more musicals, god damn it. The Fire Inside Sonic 3. A lot of people saying, mentioning Nosferatu. I haven't seen it yet, but it'll probably be on my list. He mentions Nosferatu in A Complete Unknown. Mike Joyce says, I'm going to go from bottom to the top. Wicked, The Apprentice. I believe, Mike Joyce, I think you're in the chat. I believe The Apprentice is that Sebastian Stan movie where he plays Donald Trump. I just saw a clip of it, and I'm like, God damn, that's a good Donald Trump. That's a good, he did it, because it's not merely an impression. Like it's a real performance. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Hitman. Ooh, Hitman's honorable mention. That's a new Richard Linklater joint. Love me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Love me a good Linklater joint. That's Lars Glenn Powell's best movie this year. I know he's been in a lot this year. Hitman is the best one. And where he goes undercover as a hitman. That is also a very hot, sexy movie. Dune 2, Wild Robot, Anora, Superman, The Christopher Reeve Story, The Order, and Challengers. Did you see Challengers?
Yeah.
When I like it, I saw people were like, "Oh, Challengers." I'm like, "This looks like not a movie for me."
Yeah, it's an out there movie, but Luca Guadagnino directed the heck out of it. There's some, especially the last tennis sequence is one of the most memorable scenes I've seen in the movie in a long time.
All right, maybe I'll check it out. Clementine, didn't see a lot of movie this year, but the ones that really knocked me out were Dune 2 and The Wild Robot again. Also really enjoyed Furiosa, Transformers 1, Alien Romulus, Rebel Ridge, Ultraman Rising, and Deadpool and Wolverine. Leonard Kim says, Musica, Sweethearts, The Idea of You, Transformers 1, Moana 2, Godzilla X Kong, Inside Out 2, The Fall Guy, Dune Part 2, and his favorite movie of the year was Deadpool and Wolverine. Get out of here, Leonard. Get out of here. No, it's not. That's not your favorite movie. Come on. No, I'm kidding. That's fine. That's fine if that's your favorite movie. Boiler Huff says Deadpool and Wolverine, Quiet Place Day 1, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, A Real Pain, The Wild Robot, Challengers, The Fall Guy, Wicked, Inside Out 2, and Dune Part 2. Before we go, RB3, any honorable mentions, any stuff that didn't make the top 5 that you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, like I mentioned, Long Legs for sure is up there. Challengers is up there. Flow, which is the new animated film that's like kind of the front runner for best animated feature right now.
Okay.
Flow is absolutely phenomenal. That was very close to making it. And yeah, Dune Part 2.
For me, Hitman is definitely up there. I liked Kinds of Kindness a lot. Again, just a good year for action movies. I don't think this is a me thing. I think this is a good year for action movies. Another Netflix action movie. I believe it's German. 60 Minutes. Follows an MMA fighter that needs to get to he has the biggest fight of his life, but bails on it because he has to get to his kid's birthday or else he's going to lose custody. And he has to fight every goddamn person in Germany, in like Berlin, I think is the city, to get there. Awesome. Cuckoo. Oddity. If you guys have, I think that's on Shudder. If you guys haven't checked out Oddity, that's a fun indie horror. Maxine's good. Maxine's just not as good as Pearl and X.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just those two movies were better. Yeah, so a lot of I guess you know what? There's some winners in here. I'm going through my letterbox, by the way. If you guys want to see where I rank everything, a lot of not so good movies. Also this year, mixed bag, I think we could say. Before we wrap up, RB3, remind the kids about Urban Luxury.
Hey, Urban Luxury is a 6-part anthology series that deals with the commodification of the story. The commodification of the culture. 6 luxury stories, 1 urban truth. That's kind of the tagline. Each of these episodes deal with a different different segment of the culture that's oversold to you. And the first episode, Urban Space Cowboy, is about a black comic book writer. He's dealing with writer's block. So one of his characters comes to life and kind of talks him through that situation.
Love it.
Episode 2, PSA 10, it's about a guy who's immunocompromised. He risked his life going to a mall during peak COVID to obtain a once in a lifetime basketball card. So, it's again like kind of satirical. All these movies are kind of satirical, kind of in the horror thriller category, but all really fun.
Amazing. There will be links in the description. Please go check it out. Go to Indiegogo, look up Urban Luxury, support these shorts. They sound amazing. RB3, thank you for joining me to talk about movies this week. And this will be the last, obviously there'll be new episodes coming out, but this will be the last one we're recording for the year. So I want to thank everybody for another amazing year of Only Stupid Answers. Thank you for supporting the show. Roxy's not here, but thanks to Roxy for once again being an incredible co-host. And we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.